Today we're in St. Joseph, Missouri, and behind me that's the East Hills Mall. And I got recommended coming to this mall because it might be a bit of a dead mall. St. Joseph is a city of about 70,000 people. We're a little bit north of Kansas City. I wouldn't call it a suburb of Kansas City. It's certainly its own community, and 70,000 people is a pretty decent number. And so we'll check out the mall. Driving around outside, there's lots of cars here. There's a JCPenney right there that looks like it's doing pretty well. But that might be like the only anchor store it appears from the outside. But there's Texas Roadhouse, there's restaurants. It's a busy area, so it's in a good location. So let's learn a little bit about the mall. It's actually called East Hills Shopping Center, and it was built in 1965 as one of the first malls ever in the Midwest. Original tenants included Montgomery Ward, JCPenney, Safeway, Cat's Drug, Woolworths, and Hirsch Brothers. Mall was expanded in 1988 and Dillard's and Sears were added. We drive around, you can see a lot of empty stores and empty spaces. You can see the faded out Dillard's on the side of the mall. Let's go in and check it out. I will say this mall is different from some of the other ones I have shown on this channel, but when you walk in, it does have that familiar feel, very empty. Got some advertisements for local university. So throughout the 90s, East Hills started losing tenants, including Woolworths, and Montgomery Ward closed in 2001, so just after the 90s. From 2005 to 2008, Famous Footwear, Walden Books, Lerner New York, and Lane Bryant all left. They renovated the mall in 2008 and 2009 with the addition of the food court that you'll see here shortly. In 2011, Gordman's opened in the former Montgomery Ward space. And there's JCPenney, that's the only anchor store left in the mall, and that's the food court. It's obviously approaching Christmas time, so a lot of Christmas decorations, and you get a sense that the community supports it. There are a lot of people walking around, maybe not a lot of people shopping, but a lot of people kind of in and out of the mall. This is something I really liked. They had different displays, historical displays. Obviously there's some ones about cemeteries, but different things about St. Joseph and the history of the area. That was unique to some of the other malls that I've been to. Shows the community pride and that they're trying to do something with the space. So you can see just a couple people in the food court, very clean. And there's only one place that you could get some food, some Chinese fast food. So I got me some and hung out and had lunch. So next to those historical displays, they have a little museum. And this is a Lewis and Clark history museum. Actually, I didn't quite know what it was when I walked in, but then started figuring it out. They talk about the travels through the Lewis and Clark time and different artworks as well that coincided with different places that they traveled to. And there is Lewis and Clark. So even if you're coming here and can't find anything to buy because there may be not a lot of stores open, there are some historical displays that you can check out, like the expedition there of Lewis and Clark.
Now we're back out into the mall area, and we'll start seeing many empty stores. They do have this really nice carousel. It's like it's ready to go for anyone that wants to ride on it. It's not a huge mall, but you can see it's got a pretty long hallway here and people walking up and down the hallway. So before we get too far into it, East Hills Shopping Center kind of got famous in 2014. They did a ad for back to school that unexpectedly went viral.
East Hills for back to school. Denim, haircut, backpacks, come get your backpack.
Boots and pants.
New shoes,
Get yourself an outfit.
denim,
Boots and pants.
Haircut.
new shoes. So get yourself back to school with East Hills.
Haircut.
It's hard to believe the mall didn't get a lot popular after that video, but it did get the name out there. Over 1 million people watched that video. So East Hills Shopping Center was famous for probably a different reason than they wanted it to be. But in 2015, Party City opened on the north side of the mall next to JCPenney. But in 2017, Sears permanently closed their doors. In 2020, Gordman's also closed. Then the pandemic brought many businesses to a close here. In 2022, Dillard's permanently closed. You saw that when we were driving around, and that left JCPenney as the last remaining anchor store. Party City, which had opened in 2015, closed in 2023. And there's the inside entrance to Dillard's, sign looking very similar to the one on the outside. I like the design of the mall. It's got some interesting architecture. It's got some good lighting. You know, it's very clean, like I said earlier. So I enjoyed walking around it, and I can see why people like to do their mall walking here. Feels very safe walking around. Did a little bit of artwork down here, a couple of kind of random pieces. Pretty interesting to look at. Looked like they had created an area over here for maybe smaller and kind of niche type stores. There were several of those spots vacant as well. But I'm guessing with Christmas on the horizon, many of these stores might be doing a little bit of business. If you need a neon sign, definitely the place to go. On a different end of the mall with a different university advertising on the walls, they have probably the busiest place. It's a play area for kids. I did not go in there, but looked like they were having fun. You see there's Northwest Missouri State, the other school that's advertising. So this was really interesting. Down one of the hallways on the wall, they told the history of the mall, starting back in 1965, like I mentioned earlier. And the whole wall is the history of the mall. And I love the old pictures. They did a nice job with some short summaries of the history of the mall and St. Joseph. And I've not seen that in a mall before. So obviously, like I was mentioning earlier, people do care about this place. And it shows how busy it was. I mean, look at that picture with all the people coming to the mall. Looks like they had shows, different maybe performances at the mall. And then it did talk later on down the way here in the 2000s about the decline of the mall. You know, and a lot of times these places will maybe try to ignore that, but they do talk about that. It's been tough for malls all across the country. So I respect the fact that they talked about their struggles. This was a really interesting area to walk down and check out all the history.
Well, it's definitely an interesting experience at the East Hills Mall. When you walk in, it feels like a lot of these other dead malls, but then, you know, there's people there. There's certainly it's a Saturday, so it's the weekend and people are walking around. I'm guessing that a weekday won't be as many people, and you know it's before Christmas, so you can see there's some Christmas specific shops in there. So I'm guessing in January on a weekday, it's going to look a lot different in there. But also, I like that they had a little bit of a museum type feel. They had a history of the mall, which was really interesting and even kind of embraced the struggles in the 2000s. You know, they didn't have a 2020s update, which would probably be the worst decade for the mall. So it's certainly, depending on what your definition of a dead mall is, it's certainly in that category. 80 to 90% of everything was closed today, and probably more than that, like I said, after the holiday season. But it's really nice. They kept it nice and clean. I had, got me some food at the one place that had some food, and I hope that the community spirit that it appears they probably have, and that the community can hopefully support it, can bring it back in some fashion. And certainly a uphill climb for places like this. But the East Hills Mall is a interesting place to visit.